My name is Jessica, and I'm 49 years old. I've been married to my husband Ethan for 20 years, and since our son left home last year to attend a university in another state, I've had more free time. However, I started working part-time because we needed to send money to our son. I had been a stay-at-home mom since giving birth to him. So at first, I struggled with many things. Lately, I've been feeling more fulfilled as my opinions have been taken into account at work. And I feel like I'm actually being useful. Hey, Ethan. I just found out I'm getting a small raise in my hourly wage. It's nice to be recognized for my hard work, isn't it? I was in a cheerful mood as I spoke to Ethan, who was absent-mindedly watching TV. Then suddenly, "So, you're saying you can live on your own now?" My husband unexpectedly asked me something that made no sense. What? Thinking I misheard him, I responded with a questioning tone.
"It's perfect timing. I've been meaning to tell you."
He turned his face to me and began to talk. My husband's smirking face gave me a bad feeling.
"I've got a cute girlfriend now. I don't need you anymore."
I was frozen in shock by his unexpected words.
"Get the divorce papers and the marriage certificate from the city hall tomorrow."
He said it nonchalantly. It was all too sudden, and I couldn't understand what was happening. What do you mean? He found a new woman, so he wants a divorce. And he wants to remarry the new woman? As the situation became clearer, I could feel my body shaking. Seeing me like that, my husband sneered.
"I can still live as a man. Unlike you, who gave up on being a woman a long time ago. It's been so long since we stopped having a relationship at night, there's no point in being together anymore."
How rude and outrageous he is. It's true that we haven't had a marital relationship for a long time, but it's not because I gave up on being a woman. On the contrary, I don't want to feel attracted to a middle-aged man in his 50s with extra weight. Angry and somehow amused, I burst out laughing. I'm tired, busy, it's a hassle. You were the one who kept avoiding me with those excuses. Now suddenly you want to live as a man? That's hilarious. Then my husband's face turned grim.
"What's so funny? Don't mess with me, old lady."
He showered me with harsh, vulgar words. Then, leaning back with his arms crossed,
Ashley is so different. She's head over heels for me, calling me the best boyfriend ever. Look at you, excited about a tiny pay raise. How pathetic."
Ethan started boasting about Ashley, his apparent affair partner, and looked down on me. Ashley. Her name. Ashley. Ashley. You are annoying. Then Ethan proudly talked about Ashley's background. She's working in the nightlife scene, over a decade younger in her mid-20s. She's carrying his child. It's not uncommon for age gap marriages these days, but a parent with an almost 20-year-old son having a child with a woman not much older than their child? I felt like I was going crazy with disgust.
In life, you need love, not with someone cold and hardened like moldy rice cake like you, but with a woman like Ashley, who has fresh, plump skin. A love that lasts forever. That's what makes spending money worthwhile.
My husband ranted with a rolling tongue. So it's basically love bought with money. Choosing a young, fresh girl while ignoring his own withering self. I see. So you switched to a young, unwise girl who's after money and doesn't mind having an affair with a married man. When I pointed that out, my husband shouted, spitting in anger.
"It's not about money, it's about love."
And he angrily spat out the words.
"Anyway, I'm serious. I need to marry Ashley as soon as possible and reassure her. You pack your stuff and get out."
Wow. He's only focused on his own convenience. I was speechless and dumbfounded. At the same time, it started to seem rather ridiculous to me, because the last time this person used the word love towards me was ages ago. I'm sure with that new girl, Ashley, after a while, he won't even show any reaction. With time and age, such fleeting feelings are bound to fade away. In fact, the harsh words my husband is throwing at me now will be directed at Ashley next. Really? You're pathetic. I should have noticed before we got married. When I think about it, I've taken on all the housework and childcare by myself. My husband, who never helped, but also just criticized me for not doing this or that, has changed a lot. Even though it was a time when it was taken for granted, there wasn't even a single word of appreciation, let alone love. And now, he's discarding me, who has tried so hard, and moving on to a younger woman. I couldn't believe it was a sane decision, but Ethan seemed to take my words as just sour grapes.
Well, then there's no problem. Anyway, we'll fill out the paperwork on the next day off. Make sure you have both ready.
And with that, he locked himself in the room. For several days after that, I spent sleepless nights and couldn't stop the tears of frustration. Still, outwardly, I pretended not to be bothered. On the next day off, my husband actually invited the other woman to our house. Hi there. Ethan's old wife. I came to help with the paperwork. The woman named Ashley, who casually sat on the sofa and hummed, crossed her legs arrogantly. As my husband said, she had smooth skin, and her confidence in her appearance was evident from her behavior. Being a night worker, her flashy makeup and overly revealing clothes were designed with a dangerously low-cut neckline. Her tight skirt was so short that even I, as a woman, didn't know where to look. But I felt that she didn't really love my husband. If my intuition was correct, her goal was surely I, who had already prepared for divorce, faced her. I didn't intend to resist, but I felt something off about her behavior. Ashley, right? Did you start dating Ethan knowing that he's married? Calling me an old wife means you understand each other's positions, right? She laughed loudly and said, I'm not stupid. You know, don't underestimate me, you old lady. You're the one who's going to be dumped. I'm going to be Ethan's wife from now on. See, it's a simple story. She smirked and talked down to me in a lisping tone. Well, I'm glad you answered so smoothly. I managed to record it too. So that means you also know that I can claim compensation from you, right? I showed her the recorder I was using to record our conversation. She made a face and complained to my husband. Ethan, you said she wouldn't bother us, right? This isn't what we agreed on. She complained to my husband. My husband tried to calm her down, saying,
Calm down. Don't worry. I've got it all planned. Right, Ashley? Don't be mad.
Ethan, Ashley, their conversation was really sickening. As I made a disgusted face, my husband brought out some documents.
Write the divorce papers with these conditions.
They listed the conditions for the divorce, including alimony and pension division. You're giving $230,000 to this old lady? That'll take away from my share. Even without questioning, she openly revealed her thoughts. As she repeated, it'll take away. I was convinced. Her goal was my husband's inheritance from his father, which he was currently processing.
Well, Ashley, this includes child support.
My husband tried to comfort her, even though she didn't look happy. To him, her blatant behavior seemed cute. So, it's like a severance pay. Expensive, huh? I struggled to control my anger that had reached its peak. Anyway, I was sure of my intuition and said, if you're willing to put these conditions in a notarized document, I'm fine with it. Also, I'd like the payment in a lump sum. I added that. I kept my response minimal, and my husband, knowing that our conversation was being recorded, agreed to these terms. Are you satisfied now? While I was talking to my husband, that woman had been bored and urged us to finish the divorce papers. Old lady, make sure to leave by the end of the month, okay? I'm canceling my current place. Once the notarized document is ready, I'll submit the divorce papers. I'll leave as soon as that's done. As I replied, She grumbled with dissatisfaction and reluctantly left. Eventually, the notarized document was finalized, and my husband and I divorced. Then, as if she had been waiting for it, that woman came to kick me out. "Come on, hurry up and leave, and don't dawdle." She laughed and seemed to be enjoying herself. "I just submitted our marriage registration. Now I'm Ethan's wife. This wonderful house is all mine." Reluctantly, I handed her the keys to the front door. Before leaving, I wanted to confirm something and asked, "Isn't Ethan the same age as your parents? If you call me an old lady, since he's older than me, he is an old man. Why did you choose him as your marriage partner?" I asked. Her answer was exactly what I expected. "Ethan is a division manager at a top-tier company. This house is a recently renovated property near the station. It's a stylish single-family home, and I'll change the furniture to suit my taste." She was daydreaming. "Ethan will treat me like a princess. He's not handsome and is an old man, but he said he'd buy me anything I want. My future is secure with this." She smirked with satisfaction, as if to mock me. "I hope everything goes as you wish." With a sigh, I left the house I had lived in for many years. I moved to a dormitory at a certain university. I was hired as a live-in dormitory mother, which is quite rare these days. Actually, before that, I had been working part-time at a company cafeteria. When I explained my situation and my desire to start a new life alone in a distant place, my boss, who appreciated my work, helped me find this opportunity. I gratefully accepted the job at the dormitory, which had just become vacant due to an employee's retirement. I'm so glad I got my nutritionist certification. The rent and utilities are super cheap. Though I don't have much free time to go out, it's a comfortable and fun workplace. About 3 months into this new life, I received a phone call from my ex-husband.
"Mom is in bad shape. Can you help with her care?"
How could he say such a thing? We are strangers now. It's your young wife's responsibility to take care of her. When I pointed out the obvious, he said,
"Ashley is pregnant. Mom has dementia and throws things, so it's dangerous."
He said, "So it's okay for her to throw things at me." That's some twisted logic. But I flatly refused. "Don't call me anymore. We have nothing to do with each other." I pushed him away with forceful words. Although she was my mother-in-law for 20 years, we never had a close relationship. Anyway, I had just started living independently, and I didn't have the time or resources to provide care elsewhere. But my ex-husband somehow found out where I was and came to see me with that woman.
"If you can't help, at least return the money we paid as consolation."
What a ridiculous demand. I don't think I'm obligated to do that, do you? As I pushed him away coldly, that woman glared at me fiercely. "You knew and tricked us. There's no inheritance, and we're drowning in debt." With a scream, she threw documents at me, scattering them all over the place. "I didn't trick anyone. You just assumed Ethan had property on your own." I shrugged my shoulders on purpose. Yes, when I was handling my late father-in-law's inheritance, I found out that he had a large amount of debt. If that were the only issue, we could have just disclaimed the inheritance. However, Ethan had already canceled his father's mobile phone contract and sold the household items and valuables for cash before the procedure. There's a law that says you can't disclaim an inheritance if you've touched the property before the procedure, and that's exactly what happened. As a result, the debt fell directly on Ethan and that woman. With a triumphant tone, I said, "Ethan just dumped all the inheritance paperwork on me without listening to a word I said. Ashley, you used that money to continue your relationship with him, right?" I blurted out.
"What? You should have told me something so important."
Ethan argued, but that's what I wanted to say, too. It's your fault for not listening when you should have. You two need to take responsibility together. What? I didn't know anything about it, and I never heard any of that. The woman looked pale and flustered.
"So, You're just going to pretend you don't know and run away with the money.
The two of them pressed me hard, but I didn't care. It's funny you say that. If you didn't cheat, you wouldn't have needed money for your mistress, and you could have given up your inheritance. You're definitely the one who caused this situation.
Ugh!
He groaned and backed away. Ashley, you knew he was married, pursued him for his assets, had a child, and kicked me out. You wanted this position, didn't you? I lectured the girl who was old enough to be my daughter. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't want this old man at all. There was more for me to say. Do you remember the notarized documents from our divorce? I received alimony, pension division, and child support from Ethan. But besides that, I can also claim alimony from you. What? You're saying $230,000 isn't enough? You're so greedy! She shouted in disbelief and insulted me. I would have forgotten about it if you left me alone, but you come up with nonsense like demanding I take care of his mother or return the alimony I received. I can't take it anymore. I told her I had a recording of our divorce negotiations and was serious about claiming alimony. She ran away without looking back. As I watched her go, I turned to Ethan, who was still standing there. How can she run like that when she's in her last trimester? Is she really pregnant? And where's the love now that she's run away? At my question, Ethan gasped.
I was wrong. Please come back.
He begged with teary eyes, looking aged all at once. No way. Please leave.
Jessica.
My ex-husband sobbed, and as pitiful as he was, he didn't deserve any mercy considering his past actions. Later, just as I expected, the woman disappeared, leaving only a divorce notification behind. It seems her pregnancy was a lie, too. My ex-husband was left to handle his debt and care for his mother alone, and he withered away from stress and overwork. As for me, I found my calling as dorm mother for kids the same age as my son, and people have been telling me I look younger lately. From now on, I'll live honestly without arrogance or scheming. Everyone, please be careful when getting a divorce.